Before we get really going into our presentation today, what I'd like to do is I'd like to start out by asking you to consider a few questions. Now, the questions that we're about to ask are really to get our minds thinking about how we could do things better, if we need to do things better, and what those outcomes would be. Okay. Now, no response is required for any of these questions at this time. Like I said, this is just more to get us into the flow of things. So we've talked to scientists, lab managers, and lab administrators, and these questions keep coming up in their minds on how can we solve these issues? How can we mitigate our risks when it comes to it? So what would happen if you lost all your work for a single day? What would the outcome be? What would the cost to the experiment, to the lab, to the company be? What's the real cost of setting up a single experiment? Now, we'll talk about this a little bit later in our presentation because we've had some people come to us and say, this is what the real pain point on setting up an experiment is. Do you know which of your resources are healthy and which is not? Now, this question will provide some humor a little later in our presentation. We'll come back to this one though. Some of the questions may have felt a little scary, and they should. We in the lab world are facing the growing pressure to reduce the cost and time to complete projects. To succeed, labs must be more proactive, whether it's tracking process status, monitoring resources, planning capital purchases, or just setting up experiments. And to be more proactive, adoption of digital is absolutely required. Cognizant has years of experience working with labs, okay? And we've been scrutinizing lab operations for the past year in the development of our Lab Insights product. And we've developed this vision for the lab environment. We want to be able to analyze the past, manage the present, and predict the future to improve operational efficiency and scientific productivity. This vision is driving us to help our clients become the digital lab of the future now, not down the road, but today. What can we do today to help change our processes and make them more efficient? So what I'd like to ask you is, based on the slide, I'm sure most of you have read over the slide, are you on track to be a digital lab? The 5 examples of what our technology should be helping you do are: 1, reduce your process setup time; 2, adoption of IoT while preserving legacy equipment; being able to analyze real-time performance data; being able to intervene and prevent experiment loss in near real time; and the ability to plan investments based on data rather than just taking a shot in the dark. Okay? If you're not able to answer, yes, we're doing all of these things, is your technology really helping you get to the path to become a digital lab? If not, our Lab Insights product provides that path. There are 3 pain points that have been consistent across all of our labs we've spoken with: the amount of time to set up an experiment, the inability to monitor those processes in near real time, and the inability to monitor the resources remotely. Our first pain point is setting up and executing on an experiment. Our research shows that the average time to set up an experiment is approximately 8 to 12 weeks. It seems like a long time to wait, especially in today's digital age. So why is that? What are the factors that go into this pain point? In today's environment, labs have to deal with manual setup of experiments and processes, which means each batch process is often set up manually by custom connecting data sources and instruments to a custom-built dashboard. This requires custom coding and modification, and that's usually not done by the lab personnel. So are you calling on IT or possibly even an outside expert to write this code for you? And how much time does that take before you can actually get doing what you love to do? Even if you have data coming from sensors or what we call smart instruments or connected instruments, your lab may have difficulty handling that data, either the flow of it, the frequency of it, or maybe even the final destination of where that data is supposed to be. We had one of our clients put it very plainly with this comment: we must eliminate manual processes. One of our beta clients shared a recipe that they run regularly, and it typically takes them 8 to 12 weeks each time they conduct the run. We built the recipe for them in Lab Insights in about 15 minutes. Also, we showed them how to execute the experiment right after they set it up.